I thought I knew everything about my family until I saw a $500,000 loan notification on my phone. That house. It belonged to my own sister, but the loan was in my name. 3 new credit cards opened, thousands of dollars in crazy spending, all delivered to my sister's new address. Me, someone who never borrowed a single penny, suddenly drowning in debt overnight. My sister was the person I trusted most, the one I always protected and forgave since childhood. Now she had stolen my entire identity to build her dream life. But the story doesn't end there. What happened at the housewarming party will leave you absolutely speechless. I used to believe nothing could throw me off balance. My name is Madison Reed. I'm 29 years old, living in Chicago, working as a financial analyst at one of the city's top firms. My life is meticulously planned, schedules, spreadsheets, goals set a year in advance. I save diligently, avoid unnecessary expenses, and take pride in my impeccable credit score. For me, it's a matter of principle to be self-sufficient, to never fall into debt. Everything I own, I've earned without a single loan. My parents, Helen and Peter Reed, always taught me that money demands discipline. They worked tirelessly, pinching pennies to ensure my sister, and I never went without. I strive to live up to their expectations, to be their rock. From a young age, I understood how hard they worked for everything. We shared a special bond, family dinners, heartfelt conversations, unwavering support. I helped them however I could, grocery runs, paying bills, or covering unexpected expenses. My older sister, Lindsay, was always there too. Lindsay is 3 years older than me, and we've always been worlds apart. She's the life of the party, always surrounded by friends, effortlessly charming. I'm the quiet one, the straight-A student, the good girl. As kids, we fought over toys, then clothes, then our parents' attention. In public, we played the part of perfect sisters, but there was always an invisible wall between us. I learned to forgive her. When she took my things without asking, I stayed silent. When she borrowed money and never paid it back, I let it slide. When our parents asked me to help her, I didn't argue, I just did it. At some point, I started seeing it as my role, to be the responsible, mature one. Lindsay could charm anyone, and she got away with a lot. Our parents often took her side, even when I was right. Still, I loved her in my own way, holding on to hope that one day things would change. I never stopped believing in family. That morning started like any other. I woke up early, made coffee, checked my work emails, and mentally ran through my to-do list for meeting. Then my phone pinged. I didn't think much of it at first, notifications come all the time. But when I glanced at the screen, my breath caught in my throat. A bank alert. Your payment of $2,678.90 is due in 7 days. I froze. A loan? I hadn't taken out any loans. I checked the name, it was mine. I logged into my banking app and couldn't believe my eyes. A $500,000 mortgage. The ground seemed to slip out from under me. I frantically checked my other accounts. Everything else was fine, but this loan loomed like a dark stain. My first instinct was to call the bank. With trembling hands, I dialed the hotline. The operator asked endless questions, verifying my identity. I tried to stay calm, but fear clawed at me. "Are you sure you didn't take out a mortgage for this address?" the operator asked. I nearly laughed through my tears. "A mortgage? I don't even know where that house is. The loan is in your name. All the personal details match," came the reply. A chill ran down my spine. I asked for a statement and copies of the documents. The bank promised to investigate, but confirmed I was on the hook for nearly $3,000 a month. I couldn't fathom this was happening to me. My mind raced. Had someone stolen my identity? Who could do this? At first, I thought it was a mistake, a system glitch, a mix-up with names. But everything was too precise. My name, address, passport details. I remembered how I'd often helped Lindsay and our parents with paperwork. They trusted me, and I trusted them. My whole life, I'd been the family's dependable backbone, always striving to be better, to support, to avoid conflict. I'd sacrificed for them. But that day, Something inside me broke. This wasn't an accident. It was someone's deliberate act. And that meant I was facing not just a financial mess, but a betrayal I wasn't prepared for. I don't remember how I ended the call with the bank. My head buzzed. My heart pounded like I'd just run a marathon. Instead of working, I stared blankly at my computer screen, seeing nothing. Every 10 minutes, I checked my phone, hoping the bank would say it was a mistake. Then another notification hit. A $3,200 purchase on a credit card I'd supposedly just opened. I hadn't applied for any new cards in 2 years. I checked my credit report. 3 new credit cards have been opened in my name in recent weeks. Purchases were already racking up. Electronics, furniture, big-ticket items from major stores. Each charge felt like a slap in the face. My perfect financial reputation was crumbling before my eyes. I called the bank again, demanding they freeze the new cards. The operator explained the applications were made online using my full details and an electronic signature. My birth date, passport number, and registered address had been used to verify my identity. This couldn't be some random stranger. I was shaking with fear and anger, feeling like I'd been robbed in my own home. I dug into the transaction details. Almost all the major purchases were delivered to the same address. When I saw it, I couldn't believe my eyes. It looked familiar. I typed it into a search engine and found the house Lindsay had shared in our family chat a few weeks earlier, gushing, "Check out this amazing neighborhood. It's my dream." The mortgage address matched her new home. A cold sweat broke over me. I racked my brain, wondering if I'd accidentally signed something for her. No, I always double-checked everything. I remembered Lindsay mentioning her move, how she was planning a housewarming party. I'd congratulated her, asked how she afforded such a place. Her vague response, "It worked out a good deal," felt suspicious now. I couldn't believe my sister would do this. I'd forgiven her childish pranks growing up, but a $500,000 loan was no prank. I called my mom. She was startled by my tone. "What's wrong?" I didn't hold back, telling her about the loan, the new cards, the address. She went silent, then said, "Lindsay just bought a house in that area, but she said it was all above board." I could hear the worry in her voice. My dad was confused but quick to defend Lindsay. "She wouldn't do that. It's probably a bank error, Madison." I didn't argue. I had no energy left. I asked when Lindsay moved. "They said a week ago and mentioned her housewarming this weekend." "Didn't she invite you?" they asked. I checked my phone. The invitation was buried among work emails. It stung. The whole family was celebrating while my life was falling apart. I tried calling Lindsay. Once, twice, 3 times, no answer. I texted, "Call me ASAP. It's urgent." No reply. I felt like I was suffocating. The bank emailed again. "Your mortgage application was submitted via online banking with your data and signature." There was no doubt left. Someone had forged my documents. I checked the delivery address for the purchases again. Every single one pointed to Lindsay's new house, the one she'd proudly shown off to the family. Anger, despair, and a faint, traitorous hope that this could be explained battled inside me. I thought of all the times I'd helped her with debts, moves, advice. I'd covered for her with our parents, believing she'd grow up someday. I trusted my family. Now I felt like the world's biggest fool. Old wounds resurfaced, broken toys, lost money, broken promises. For the first time in years, I let myself feel real anger. I'd been betrayed, and the betrayal came from where I least expected it. That night, I barely slept. My thoughts raced like caged birds. I replayed the past months, searching for where I'd slipped up. Then it hit me. A few months ago, I'd lost my driver's license after dinner with Lindsay. I thought I'd dropped it in a taxi and got a replacement. Now, I feared it had fallen into all too familiar hands. I launched my own investigation, ordering full statements for all my accounts and credit reports, spending hours cross-referencing dates, amounts, and delivery addresses. Every document pointed to Lindsay's house, furniture, appliances, even designer curtains, all charged to my cards, delivered to her address. The electronic signatures on the new cards looked eerily like mine. I kept my signature on one device and never shared access. The realization hit hard. Lindsay did this. How did she get my information? I recalled her visiting my place, borrowing my laptop briefly, watching me scan documents. A sick feeling settled in my stomach. I called my friend Jessica Carter, a lawyer, and laid out everything, every detail, every emotion. This is a classic identity theft scheme, she said. You need a private investigator. She recommended Ellie Brooks, a seasoned financial investigator. Within hours, I met Ellie in a small downtown office. I showed her the bank statements, copies of the new cards, and emails from the bank. She studied them carefully, asking pointed questions and taking notes. She promised to trace the digital footprints, IP addresses, authorization locations. Jessica, meanwhile, requested copies of all signed electronic documents for a signature analysis. I tried to stay strong, but I felt achingly alone. I told my parents about my suspicions. My mom gasped, "Lindsay wouldn't do that. You're just tired, confused." My dad shrugged, "It's probably a bank mistake." She wouldn't risk it. Their denial hurt more than I expected. I was used to being the good girl who fixed everything quietly, but now I had to fight for myself, even if my family didn't believe me. 2 days later, Ellie reported that most applications came from the same IP address, Lindsay's home internet. She also found that my signature had been copied from an old document stored on my laptop. Everything pointed to Lindsay. She'd accessed my device when she borrowed it during visits. Jessica confirmed the signatures were forged, with slight differences in the strokes. Looking at those papers, my anger mixed with pain. I was furious at myself for being so trusting, so naive, for always excusing her. But I wasn't giving up. I vowed to uncover the truth, even if it meant a family scandal. This time, I wouldn't stay silent. The next few days, I lived on autopilot. Work lost its appeal, food tasted like ash, and sleep came only at dawn. My phone became the hub of my investigation. Endless calls to Jessica, sending documents, verifying dates and addresses. Ellie kept me updated. Every new piece of evidence brought me closer to the truth. One retailer even remembered Lindsay, vibrant, talkative, confident, paying with a premium card. Jessica obtained security footage from the bank, where some documents were signed. It clearly showed Lindsay, quickly signing something as a bank employee stood by with a tablet. Experts confirmed the signature was forged, but designed to mimic mine almost perfectly. Each new piece of evidence cut like a knife. I realized I had enough to file a fraud report and pursue criminal charges. The bank offered 2 options: launch an official investigation with the police or try to settle with the culprit out of court. Jessica explained I'd be recognized as the victim, and Lindsay could face not just the debt, but a criminal record. I listened to her calm, professional voice, but inside, I was reeling. I couldn't imagine telling my parents their daughter could face jail. Even I wasn't sure I had the strength for that. She was my sister, not a stranger. I sat for hours, phone in hand, unable to call Lindsay. I imagined her reaction: confusion, tears, accusations of jealousy. I wrestled between rage and the urge to shield my family from shame. But the thought of my future and how easily Lindsay had trampled over it gnawed at me. Then a new email arrived, an invitation to Lindsay's housewarming, addressed to parents, friends, colleagues, everyone who mattered to our family. It included a photo: Lindsay's dazzling smile, a lavish house, expensive decor, a toast to her new life. I stared at the screen, torn between tears and bitter laughter. Until then, I'd hoped to resolve this quietly, without drama. But something inside me snapped. I decided to act openly. I wasn't going to sacrifice myself for her happiness anymore. I called Jessica and asked if she'd come with me to the housewarming. She agreed. This is your chance to reveal the truth and hold her accountable. We planned our approach, gathering all documents, evidence, and preparing a statement for the bank. I also contacted a bank representative, Mr. Walter, who agreed to attend and officially confirm the fraud. The night before the housewarming, I stood by my window, staring at Chicago's skyline. Fear mixed with resolve. I knew there was no turning back. This time, I'd choose myself. This time, things would be different. The day of the housewarming arrived faster than I expected, and I couldn't back out. I arrived at Lindsay's house early, accompanied by Jessica and Mr. Walter. My heart pounded as I stood at the door, but I forced myself to take a deep breath. Guests were gathering on the porch, music filled the house, and laughter echoed through the yard. Lindsay greeted us with a glass of champagne and a radiant smile, acting as if nothing was wrong. She hugged me, exclaiming, "Madison, you're the one I wanted to see most." I barely stopped myself from stepping back. Her husband, Brian, nodded warmly, oblivious to what was coming. I felt my parents' eyes on me, hopeful for a peaceful evening. As guests settled in, Lindsay raised her glass for a toast about family, support, and new beginnings. Her words made my blood boil. I waited until she finished, then stood slowly. The room quieted, expecting more celebration. I asked for a moment of attention and stepped to the center of the living room, Mr. Walter by my side with a folder of documents. My voice was steady, but my hand shook. "I'm not here just to celebrate," I began. "Tonight, you'll learn the real cost of this house." Silence fell. All the documents for this house and the credit cards were taken out in my name. I gestured to the papers in Mr. Walter's hands. "I never authorized any of it." Lindsay tried to laugh it off, her voice faltering. "Madison, are you joking? Is this some surprise?" I shook my head.
"No, Lindsay.
This isn't a joke." Jessica stepped in. "We've conducted an investigation. All applications, signatures, digital records, and IP addresses point to one source." Mr. Walter laid out the facts, placing printouts on the table, receipts, statements, reports. All purchases, from furniture to appliances, were delivered here. "These cards were opened in your name, but used exclusively at this address," he said, showing the evidence. Guests began whispering. Some lowered their glasses. Others froze, mouths agape. Brian stood slowly, pale and confused. "Lindsay, is this true?" he asked, his voice hollow. She stumbled over her words, unable to respond. "Enough," I said firmly. "You can deny it all you want, but the evidence is enough for a criminal case." Guests started leaving awkwardly, avoiding eye contact, slipping out quietly. My parents stood against the wall, Mom in tears, Dad pale and lost. Lindsay, trembling, choked out, "I didn't mean to hurt you, Madison. We were in a bind. We had no choice." I looked at her, realizing our relationship was over. Jessica explained my options: file a police report or demand restitution, property transfer, and an admission of guilt. Brian turned away from Lindsay, saying quietly, "Tell me the whole truth." She sobbed, reaching for him, but he pulled away. Mom leaned toward me, pleading, "Please, don't destroy the family." I replied, "Mom, the family's already broken and not by me." I looked at Jessica and Mr. Walter. The decision was mine. The family stood on the edge, and Lindsay could no longer hide behind her smile or her new home's walls. That night, not just walls collapsed, my old illusions did too. Everything happened quickly, but it felt like years. Lindsay and Brian packed up almost overnight. The house, vibrant with laughter the day before, stood empty. They signed papers at the lawyer's office, where Lindsay admitted to the fraud and took responsibility. Brian didn't argue, only asking to take some personal items and be left alone. The bank began the process of clearing my name, canceling the illegal debts and recalculating interest. My credit score would be restored within 6 months, they promised. For the first time in weeks, I slept without panic. Notifications no longer sent my heart racing. The house was put up for sale. Buyers were slow to come, but I wasn't in a rush. I'd learned to wait and plan for the future. The sale proceeds covered remaining costs, and I set aside some for myself. Lindsay had to find a job. For the first time, no one bailed her out. She worked in an ordinary office, lived in a rented apartment, and watched every penny. By court order, she attended financial literacy courses and therapy. Brian filed for divorce, packed a suitcase, and vanished from her life. Mom cried for weeks, blaming herself for being too lenient. Dad, for the first time, discussed their parenting mistakes, how they raised us, why they missed the signs. Our family meetings grew rarer and more awkward. They apologized, trying to mend things, but I kept my distance, not out of spite, but because I'd learned to set boundaries. I barely spoke to Lindsay. Our communication was limited to brief messages about our parents or signing paperwork, sometimes about her payments. What once felt like sisterly closeness was gone. I realized I didn't need to be the strong one for everyone anymore. I could focus on myself. I started yoga, took solo trips out of the city, walked with music in my ears, unafraid of missing a call. The pain of betrayal lingered, but it faded with time. I learned to say no without explaining myself 1,000 times. My credit score climbed steadily. I checked my accounts weekly now. Jessica advised me to lock my important documents in a safe, and I made it a habit. A year later, I smiled when I saw my clean credit report, no debts, just my name. Life was changing, and so was I. Family dinners lacked their old warmth. My parents tried to recapture the past, but they knew some things were gone forever. I forgave them, but the old trust was gone. It wasn't about resentment, it was about knowing my worth. Lindsay found a new job and rented a small apartment on the city's outskirts. She sent occasional messages, sometimes apologies. I responded, but kept my heart guarded. Our connection was formal, not hostile, but not close. Looking back, I know there are no perfect endings. But there are victories over yourself when you refuse to be used any longer. I learned to set boundaries and not collapse when they're crossed. I stopped justifying others' actions and living for their expectations. Now, I had my life, and that was enough.